All right, all right, all right. You're listening to the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. With me, as always, is my right hand man, Lou. Lou, another week in the books, and we're here to discuss our Week 11 recap. It is Wednesday evening. Week 12 is literally just hours away from being upon us. And most importantly, it's Thanksgiving week. So, how are you feeling heading into Thanksgiving week?
I'm feeling great, Weston. You know how you know you're getting old?
Enlighten
By
me.
on Thanksgiving Eve, you're no longer going out to bars and clubs. You're doing podcasts in the basement of your home, and hopefully your children don't wake up.
Yeah, not only that, but like you and I were joking about jumping onto this. You know how you're getting old is when your oven's not working and you're responsible for multiple things at Thanksgiving dinner. You're trying to figure that out so you can justify even getting on a podcast to talk football.
Dude, it sucks getting old.
It really is. So, for any of our listeners, stay as young as you can for as long as you can. But Lou, I know we're gonna dive into what we're thankful for in short order here, but I'm gonna lead us by saying I'm thankful that this is the NFL and it never fails to give us great content to discuss. This week we witnessed the Bills get dismantled by the Colts, the Titans lose in improbable fashion to the lifeless Houston Texans, and the Colt McCoy led Arizona Cardinals beat down the Russell Wilson led Seahawks in Seattle. So it's like you and I talk about every week, proof that this league is literally week to week. And yet another week goes by, and we're probably going to talk about yet another team who could be the hottest team in the AFC, a la the New England Patriots. But to me, Lou, this is fun, my friend. I wouldn't have it any other way. So, with all that being said, what do you say we jump into this evening's show?
Let's jump in.
All right. So, we'll begin as we always do with our hometown takes. Your Chargers had the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend.
On
My
prime time.
on prime time. I don't get me started on prime time because 2 weeks from now we were supposed to be on prime time. We just got booted out because we're awful and
All
the
right.
playing's awful.
Hold on. Before you make a segue, I was debating some people. What game did you think should have been flex? All right, should have
The Cincy game, Cincy, right? Cincy, you guys, no? Is it Cincy, you guys? Yeah, 100%, right?
that should have been flex, but no.
Yeah,
Instead, they did
it's
Chiefs.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that game.
I know. Like
Cincy,
I need to see
Cincy
Patrick
LA,
Mahomes versus Teddy Bridgewater. Like I
the
don't need to
Cincy
see that.
LA game would have been so much. The storyline would have been bigger. It would have been. It might have been like 120 points in that game.
I mean, do you think of Burrow versus Herbert, Keenan and Chase? Like it, like
Higgins,
it.
Williams,
Yeah, it's
Mixon,
just
Eckler.
yeah, like shame on you, NFL. You made the right decision flexing out the 49ers and the Seahawks. I'll give you that, but you
Yeah,
made the wrong decision on the team that you're putting in there. Although I will say this, division game is tough to move because it tends to be better football. And dude, for years, the most optimal primetime matchup was the 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks. But they're just not the same teams. So I agree with the move. Neither here nor there. But as I was saying, your Chargers had the Steelers. My 49ers had the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like we always do, let's start with you and start with that Chargers Steelers game.
all right, so starting with the good, as always, a win is a win in the NFL. Before the season, if you told me that this is how the Chargers were going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would have been like, they're a better team. It should have gone down like this. But we've seen week in and week out that even the AFC is weird, man. They the Bills losing to the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago. The two losses of the Titans are to the Jets and the Texans. So
Yeah.
like a win's a win. So I don't care. I've always said it, this week. I mean, this year, this has been my mantra. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. And that is the first thing to start off with the good when it comes to the LA Chargers this past week. In addition, we want to give some quick love to the no-name interior defensive lineman of the Chargers this past weekend. Talking about Joe Gaziano, Braden Fayoko, and Forrest Merrill. These guys held Najee Harris in check The over under for Harris was 80 and a half, I think, rushing yards. I thought that was a lock for him to go over. Apparently, the Chargers have been one of the worst rushing, defenses in the NFL, and they held him to 39 rushing yards at 3.3 yards per carry. That is huge.
Dude, they held
So
the entire team to 55 total rushing yards. And we talked about in our pick'em section last week, we both picked the Steelers, and we both picked the Steelers because we thought they'd be able to run the ball at will, and they were not able to do that.
no, yeah, and you got to understand these guys are your fourth, fifth, and sixth string interior defensive linemen. So for them to step up on a primetime game like that, kudos to them. I know Pittsburgh was banged up. I get it. I've been reading and hearing nothing but that. But you still got to go out there and play, and you're a professional. You get paid to play. But the real story of this game was Justin Herbert. He totaled 472 yards of offense and 4 total touchdowns. I'm not going to regurgitate any more stats and bore our listeners. Instead, I want to kind of go back until I can do a quick film study. I thought he showed excellent movement in the pocket, and when everyone was covered, he finally displayed his speed and athleticism. This is where I thought part of his game was lacking. There's numerous times throughout the season, and especially RPOs, I found that he could have, take the ball himself and run for the first down. But this is one of the first times he actually really added that element to his game. And let's not forget, I know Justin Herbert's big, but he's fast. Look what he did a couple of years back in the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns against Wisconsin. So let's not forget that he's not just a statue back there. The kid can move, man. So I thought he did a good job, running the ball, and a fantastic job being cautious when he was running the ball. And what I mean by that is it's going to sound so rudimentary, but him sliding all the time.
Don't take the unnecessary hits.
Yeah, the unnecessary hits to get injured or fumble the ball or anything like that. Really heads up plays, and it sounds so like I said, rudimentary. But the fact a lot of quarterbacks don't do that. Joe Flacco, like years before, when he messed up when sliding, and pretty much what happened was he messed up his knee when he was trying to slide and what have you. So it's not as easy as it sounds, to be honest with you. And I just want to go into the 2 best throws of the game because I thought this is what really, Herbert carrying the team. These are the throws, and these were game changers. First one was on 3rd and 13. Steelers ran a cover 2 man scheme, and Herbert threaded the needle between the cornerback and the safety, who was bracketing Keenan Allen on a 30-yard gain. He hung in the pocket tough, threw the ball over the defensive lineman because the defensive lineman's hand was up, so he got it over that defensive lineman, and then he had it out. He put it above the outstretched arm of the cornerback as well, and got that ball to Keenan Allen in a hurry. You have to, listeners, please go to Twitter, YouTube, Google. That was an amazing throw because it wasn't a first down, second down, or it was on 3rd down, 3rd and 13, 3rd and long, and he threw for 30 yards. The throw was insane. And last but not least, let's talk about that game-winning touchdown to Mike Williams, because everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a busted coverage." Not really.
No.
This is what really happened in that sequence. The Steelers blitzed off the edge and was picked up by Eckler. But even when your running back does pick up a blitzing defender, quarterbacks still can get frazzled with people all around their legs and stuff like that. Right? So he hung in the pocket tough. He wasn't distracted. And then basically what the Steelers ran was a trap coverage on Keenan Allen, who was in the slot. What that basically means is the boundary cornerback peels off of Mike Williams, who was his wide receiver that he was defending, and then addresses Keenan Allen. So they're basically doubling Keenan. And what's going to happen is the free safety is then going to cover Mike Williams. So what happened was Herbert made it look like he was going to go to Keenan in the slot for like a 7-yard gain. It was like 3rd and 5 and what have you. So just to pick up that first down. But he looked at Keenan, looked off the cornerback, and then he threw a bomb, and that's why Mike Williams was so wide open. Those are next level things and progressions from a quarterback in his second year, starting his second offense, his first time in this offense. So for him to look off corners and safeties and what have you, and deliver a strike for the game-winning touchdown where things were starting to unravel, I think shows a tremendous amount of progression for Justin Herbert, and good for him for putting this team on his back and carry them for the victory this week.
Yeah. So you and I texted the following morning, and you did have some concern. You had concern if this is like too much for a 23-year-old kid
It's
to
true.
carry.
It is a valid concern.
It is a valid concern, but I'm not worried in any way, shape, or form. First and foremost, what I love most about Justin Herbert is he's an intelligent individual. So I feel like learning curves are drastically shortened. Good news is the offense has been pretty successful with a brand new head coach. So I don't think he'll be in year 3 of his professional career learning offense number 3, right? So to me, the trajectory is, as we say in the sales world, up and to the right, right? Like it's going to continue going in that direction. You mentioned some big time throws. I do not remember the down and distance situation. It was earlier in the game, but he made a throw to Keenan. And mind you, Keenan made a spectacular diving catch on
I
this
know what
throw.
you're
Like
talking about. It was a drag
spe-
route. Keenan was on the drag route, and then it was put a little touch on it.
yeah, but it
Yes.
was a spectacular catch, like
Yeah.
a better catch than throw. But what I loved about it was the anticipatory nature of the throw, right? Like this is what I talk about all the time with quarterbacks is, and this is going to sound so cliche, but throwing to windows, putting the ball where only your receiver can get to it. So if it's not completed, it's not a turnover, it's not a deflected pat, right? Like it's just not any of those things. And like you said, he put in the right spot with the perfect touch. And to me, that was again very minor in the grand scheme of this game. But when I'm watching certain things, I watch that and I say, this guy just gets it. Like Lou, I'm telling you, Justin Herbert just gets it. And I think what you're going to see more of while he still has some youth about him is this game was light bulb. Oh, I can run down the field too. I can do those things. Dude, he put 90 yards up rushing. That's Lamar Jackson esque. And when you asked me how I thought he played, I said, well, he took what the defense gave him. And you know what the defense gave him? The defense gave him lanes down the middle of the field and in between the numbers of 30 plus yards rushes, right? Like it was just, I loved everything that I saw from Justin Herbert in this game.
Now, hold on, real quick, real quick.
Yeah,
The reason why I asked you your thought process and how he played this past weekend, because I was torn. I'm like, was he just incapable of making the reads, and that's why he decided just to run for it, or was he intelligent enough to be like, all right, it's not there, I got to run for it. So I watched this game twice, by the way. It's a primetime game. I always record when they were nationally televised. I record and watch it twice. No, it wasn't that he was having trouble, post snap reads, as he did with the Ravens and also did with the Patriots. This was more of like, okay, it's not there. I got to do this. So it was more quick thinking and quick reaction, improvising in a positive way. Because me, I'm a cynic as a fan.
of
So
course, of course.
I'm thinking like, is this just him like trying to survive? Can't unable to read the defense what the Steelers are throwing at him, or is this him like, oh no, I know what's going on, so this is what I need to do.
Yeah, to me, there was watching the game. There was no confusion on what the defense was bringing him. Right, it was a good quarterback recognizing what was there for the taking, evident by so let's subtract the 90 yards rushing. Right, still threw for 380. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like you don't throw for 380 when you're confused on what the defense is doing to you.
mhm.
There was, to me, this was a maturation game for Justin Herbert against a good Pittsburgh team. Like, and yes, the injuries, the yada yada yada. But one thing
But
Pittsburgh
their
always
scheme
is,
is complex.
yeah, they are always prepared to play football, right?
Mhm.
And they Mike Tomlin led teams thrive on playing inexperienced quarterbacks. And to me, Justin Herbert, while he's a year and a half into the league or a little bit plus a year and a half, he's not an inexperienced quarterback. There's just so much to like about him. Because I have a couple points that I wanted to make outside of that. Have
I'm
you
good with the
covered?
good.
Okay.
No,
All right, cool.
it was Justin Herbert, man.
Yeah.
It's the
100%.
yeah, the see
100%.
all
Any
be all,
other
man.
quarterback, they lose this football game.
Mhm.
I have a couple things that I thought were a little bit concerning to me.
Okay.
Um, you and I have always talked about drops. You texted me when Parham had that one drop early, right? It was either Parham or Cook. I think it was Parham. And you're
It
like,
was
drop
Cook. It
one.
was
It was
Cook.
Cook. And that was the only one I saw, right? So, like, that was good news. 12
There was
penalties. There was
uh,
4 in total in the game?
yeah, I'll get into
Okay.
that in my bad section, but go ahead.
Oh, no, no, if you're dude, keep going then. Go into your bad. Go into your bad.
Okay. So, real quick, uh, like you said, the penalties obviously was a concern. But also we were talking about the drops. Yeah, there was 4 drops, another 4 drops, another week we're talking about this. The Chargers lead the NFL in drops to 25 for the year. That's straight up ridiculous, especially with that amount of talent on that offense. How they having that many drops, I don't understand it. But other than that, the Chargers played an amazing 3 quarters, fantastic 3 quarters.
Yeah.
They didn't play 4 quarters of football, and what I mean by that, this game was never close until the 4th quarter. Never close.
27-10.
I almost went to bed, you know, when saying starting the 4th quarter, and they started charging. They allowed the Steelers to score 27 points in the 4th quarter, which is straight up ridiculous. The Steelers don't average 27 points a game, and they're scoring 27 points in the 4th quarter. And it was not only them allowing up the points is pretty much how they were doing it too. A blocked punt, a tipped interception, like a fluky tipped interception, the failed 4th and short from within their own territory. The wheels were coming off real quick, and it was disheartening. But once again, like I said before, Justin Herbert is the sole reason why this team is where it is. He just puts him on his back, and he's unflappable.
Yeah. Well, thankfully they had the buffer that they had, right? Because that 4th quarter, the wheels did look like they were coming off a little bit. And this wasn't a comeback in the typical sense of like, hey, we're just going to sit in a shell defense and let the
No,
team score because we're up. Like you said, like block punt, fluky tipped interception, like those things change the complexion of games very, very, very quickly. So those were some of my concerns. You mentioned penalties. I had penalties as a note here. I had a lousy 4th quarter as a note. Like you said, giving up 27 points in the 4th quarter when you were going in leading literally 27-10. Like you typically with 15 minutes left to play, 3-possession game, you're feeling really, you don't
I
normally have
thought
to throw game-winning touchdowns to win the game. You know
I
what I
thought
mean?
I was going to see Chase Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah, stood up, probably with 6 minutes left in the game.
I was a little leery of that. One of the things that is starting to stand out to me, and this is not a knock on the individual, I'm kind of nitpicking here a little bit, but like I do feel like Asante Samuel Jr. is coming back to reality of being
Oh no, no,
a
no.
rookie corner. I do think, but this is growing pains, and to me, this is really good for his career, right?
Okay,
Like
so
this
what
is.
makes you? I have to ask you, what makes you say that? Because
I felt like I feel like over the last 2 to 3 weeks, teams are picking on him. Like
okay,
they're
all right,
going at him, right? Where I
all
feel
right.
like in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, based on how he started the season, they shied away from him. And they're seeing something on film that makes an offensive coordinator say, we got to target 26. I don't see the same thing, but I'm saying that it's becoming a consistent theme. So somebody sees something that we don't see in the game film.
I love you, Weston, but I'm going to disagree. He, what I actually came from this matchup was Deontay Johnson's really good at football.
Yeah,
He
yes,
he he
that's
he,
also very
he,
true.
this is what the Steelers do, by the way. They find wide receivers, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, Plaxico Burris. You can go on and on and on with all the receivers that the Steelers. That's what they do. They find Juju Smith-Schuster. You
Hines
name it.
Ward, yeah,
Hines. We can keep on going, man.
yep,
And Randall L. But that's what they do. They find receivers. So Deontay Johnson, I didn't come away disheartened by Asante Samuel's play this past weekend because he was all over Deontay Johnson, but Deontay Johnson was just making these crazy catches and Ben was putting him where they exactly had to be. It's not like he was getting blown off. All right, he had that one bad play against Claypool, but then he had 3 plays against a much bigger wide receiver in Claypool, and he shut him down.
yep.
So I'm going to say it's rookie pains, but I think people are overblowing. I still think he's a straight up baller. I don't think he's. I just think people overstating the fact. In my opinion, he only had one bad play. Yeah, he left up a touchdown, But did you see that touchdown to Deontay
Yeah,
Johnson?
I'm not even talking about the touchdown.
What corner is going to not let that touchdown,
Yeah,
man?
no, and I agree with you there. I think where I'm disagreeing with you is not the caliber of play coming from Asante right now. I'm just saying there's something that these coordinators are seeing. He's being targeted much more frequently than he was earlier in the season.
I gotta
Don't know
say
what that means.
one other thing, quick. I don't know the stats off my head, but I read something going into the game that Big Ben this whole year has targeted rookie cornerbacks at an astounding high rate.
Sure,
So I don't care. I don't think he cares who it is. He was gonna target them.
and rightfully
Uh,
so, right? I mean, like, listen, Big Ben's a Hall of Famer. He's been doing this a long time. Like, it's Asante's learning on the job, right? Like he's
mhm.
getting fed to the wolves starting week 1 out there, and he's playing good football. What I'm saying is like I'm seeing that there is a maturation process
Yeah.
for this individual, and look, I make no bones about this. I wanted my team to draft him. I still wanted my team to draft him. I still regret that we haven't drafted him. Like none of that has changed whatsoever. I'm just saying that what my eyes have told me over the last 2 to 3 weeks is offensive coordinators seem to be targeting number 26 at a higher rate than they were through the first 6 weeks is
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, Other things that I wanted to call out from this game is what have I been telling you this entire year that like this offense looks the best when the playmakers are involved. That's the most cliche thing you can ever say, right? Like all offenses look good when their playmakers are involved, but you got that this week, right? Like Williams and Allen both had good statistical receiving games. Eckler, 4 total touchdowns. The rushing game was there this week, albeit in a much different fashion when your quarterback goes for 3/4 of your entire rushing output, which is like again Lamar Jackson esque, and it's not something I think the Chargers can rely on from a stability perspective. Like this needs to be an outlier that Herbert rushes for 90, but if he's giving you 40 to 50 a game, that means he's putting pressure on the defense. But I thought offensively for all 4 quarters, because it needed to be for all 4 quarters, they did what they needed to do.
Mhm.
Obviously, there was just an entire team let down in the 4th quarter, but it goes back to how you started this. A win is a win is a win in a very slippery slope that is the AFC right
I get
now.
you. Yeah.
So, all right, you're good.
I'm good.
All
I'm
right, so
great.
as you should be. I'm feeling pretty good as well. So let's get into the 49ers Jaguars. So a win is a win, second win in a row. But Lou, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. You go in and you beat a bad football team and beat them convincingly. And that's exactly what they did. What was really telling to me is like obviously I'm an avid follower of a lot of 49er Twitter accounts and fans, etc. And they're, the 49ers do have a very impressive traveling squad that go to these. We have a nationwide fan base, let's
Travel
say.
well. Your fan
Yes,
base
we
travels well.
travel very, very
You're like
well.
one of the elite fan bases. You are like the Packers, uh,
Steelers,
Steelers. Yeah, you're like one of the
Cowboys,
Cowboys. Yeah.
but these were dominant teams in a time like I feel bad for Jacksonville, right? Like they're still like in my eyes like an expansion team, right? Like they've had 20 something years of a fan base, right? And not all has been impressive, but they're showing pictures from these and it's like, dude, all you see is red in these stands. Like you see nothing else. Like it was pretty telling to say the least, but in any case, I'll start with the bad like I normally do. And honestly, there's not a when you beat a team 31-10 and you're up 23 at halftime, like,
You're nitpicking.
yeah, I'm so nitpicking. So I have here in my notes, honestly, nothing bad from this game. They dominated the football game. They did exactly what they're supposed to. But if I was to nitpick, I'll start with the opening drive. 20 plays, 13 minutes and 5 seconds, which is the longest drive in the NFL since 1997. So you're going back 24 years to have a drive of this length. Now, this is what we did to the Rams the week previous with an opening drive that was 18 plays, almost 12 minutes, yada, yada, yada. But we only walked away with 3 points. So that's what I'll say is the negative of that drive. Where I think a lot of fans are misled is it's really, really easy to sit there and say, you're on the 2-yard line. You can still even get a first down without having to score a touchdown. Why do you not go for it on 4th down? And the 49ers did line up to go for it on 4th down. There was communication issues, and they called the timeout, and Kyle Shanahan thought better of it to kick a field goal. Lou,
Can I
I'll
say
tell
something? I don't mean to interrupt you, but
not if you're going to say what I'm going to say, but yeah, you can.
that play, I don't know what the play was, obviously, but looking at the alignment of the play, Kittle was lined up as the fullback in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was ingenious. If I had to guess, and I think this would have worked, it would have been a play action boot to Kittle. He would have ran out to the flat, looked like he was going to block. I think that's automatic. That's a layup. That's I don't know why they called the timeout there. That play would have worked. I thought 100%.
It was
Maybe I'm
play
wrong.
clock. No,
Maybe
it was play clock, right? Is why they called the timeout. And I think Kyle
but
had
they
an
kick the field
epiphany.
goal. Go back to the same play.
No, I no, because you already put the formation in somebody's mind, and let's not forget that the defense gets paid to play too. These coaches get paid to coach. So here's where I disagree with 98% of the 49er fans. Is it's really easy to sit there and say, why are you not going for that? If you don't get it, you make a team have to drive 99 yards down the field. Here's why you take the points, right? Um, I would have been fine. I honestly would have been fine with if, like you said, based on that alignment, if that was their play and they didn't get it, I would have been fine. But after the timeout, I was like, no, they need to, before they even came back on the field, I was like, no, they have to kick the field goal here. You have to take the 3 points. And you take the 3 points because you will demoralize a team if you just ran 20 offensive plays, ate up 13 minutes of clock, and you get nothing from it. And you put all of the momentum, albeit I don't care how early in the game it is, to Jacksonville saying, look at this stop we just got on a young team with nothing to lose. You take the points. You can't run a 20-play drive. You and I talk about all the time how these drives are impossible to put together and get nothing from it. Now, I know the argument. You just ran 20 plays. You just went all the way down the field. Trust your team. You can't get a yard. Blah, 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 blah. Opening drive of the game, take the short thing, kick the field goal, 3 points. It's still all worked out just fine. Nothing to worry about. Now, if this drive was midway through the game, early in the third quarter, I have a totally different sentiment. Go for it, make them drive. But the first drive of the game, you're trying to set a tone, doing exactly what you did the week before. I am in 100% agreement that you kicked the field goal there. 100%.
Weston, I respectfully again disagree.
It's good.
And let me tell you why. It's not for the fact that what you were saying before. I think the worst case scenario, if you don't get it, you're still going to have great field position when the Jaguars go 3-and-out, or the Jaguars are not marching 99 yards on the field. They'll be lucky to get to their own 25 to 35.
We said the Jacksonville Jaguars wouldn't beat the Buffalo Bills. Did they beat the Buffalo Bills?
Not by offense.
No, but what I'm saying is
their offense has shown their defense has been like their offense has shown no life, no sense of life this whole season. I don't know, man. I felt like that was I disagree. I just disagree. I just feel like the worst case scenario, if you don't get it, you'll probably get the ball back in a punt, probably around like your 30 or 40-yard line. What would happen if you kick that field goal and the Jaguars and march down the field and get a touchdown? Now you're down 7-3. You want to talk about momentum? I think that was a more likely thing to happen. The way your defense has been playing lately and how inept the Jaguars offense have been the last like 6 weeks, I would rather go for it and then put your defense out there. You get a safety, you get the ball back, in midfield. I would have gone for it.
Look, I respect it, and there's a lot of people that would agree with you. I'm just saying that I'm not one of those people that agree with you on this, and I would not have been upset even a little bit if they went for it on 4th down. But when I take a step back and I think about it objectively, and you know I've been a huge critic of Kyle throughout the year and not agreeing with a lot of things that he did. And you might view that as timid ball, but that was the right call. Kick the
Yeah.
field goal. That was the right call.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
know.
So that was me nitpicking, but I needed to get that out. Let's talk about the good. Second consecutive win. You know, we dominated time of possession by over 17 minutes. Again, these are all things that are supposed to happen. We ran 66 plays to their 44 total plays, outgained them by 130 plus yards. We committed one penalty the entire game, no turnovers. You know, I talk about week to week. That's a winning formula. We ran the ball again 42 times for 171 yards. I'll talk about some players here for a second. Debo just continues to prove like how different and dynamic he is. I mean, dude, he had 8 carries for 79 yards in the TD. And I'm talking about a wide receiver, and I'm giving you running back statistics. And again, these are not happening on jet sweeps. These are happening out of the backfield.
He's
I
different.
formation, lined up next to the quarterback. His year just has been a lot of fun to watch because it's just taken place so many different ways.
It was
Ayuk,
funny, real quick. When
yep,
we were chatting during the game, and I think you, myself, and Jason were talking about Debo needs to be talked more in higher regards, especially MVP race. And then the Jonathan Taylor game happened. Like,
yeah, I
oh,
know,
okay,
I
yeah,
know,
never
yeah,
mind.
I know, I know, because I was like, yo, is Debo the best running back
Running
in
back.
the NFL? And then
I think
Jonathan
that got to
Taylor goes,
Jonathan Taylor. He's like, yo,
yeah,
hold my beer. Yeah.
Jesus, dude, like, and I'll talk about that in a little while, as I'm sure you will too. But Ayuk balled, 7
hmm
for 85 and a touchdown. What was cool about Brandon's game was couple nice catches, like just good hands, good, I like hand strength, contested catches, ran good routes. As all 49er weapons do, they're just special after the catch in terms of yak. He had a really good game. One thing that popped out to me is Jimmy played well again. Another game where he wasn't asked to do a ton, but what he was asked to do, he did really, really well. Did you know, Lou, that Jimmy actually holds the longest current NFL streak for games above 100 from a QB rating standpoint?
I
With
did not know.
4,
Wow, did not know that.
longest streak in the NFL in 2021.
So you're thinking that maybe they re-signed Jimmy and
Yeah,
trade
no.
Lance, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. No. Over the last 4 weeks, he's actually been the most consistent and effective quarterback in the entire NFL, which is wild. But I will say this to counter argue your point, and I know you were being sarcastic, but do not read much into this because the league does have its ups and downs. And even for these last 4 weeks when he's been good, there's been weeks previous to this where he's been not good.
He still
Uh,
misses a boatload of throws, man.
yeah,
He does,
he
and
does.
when he misses, it's not only,
When he misses bad.
and it's the frequency. I feel like when he
Yeah.
misses, and I think to myself, I'm like, and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything like that. I'm like, that's a reason why they're not going to get as far as they could,
Yep.
because when the pressure's on against better teams, uh, I don't think he'll rise to the occasion. And this is not me throwing shade. I'm not trying to be a hater or what have you. I'm just being a totally subjective NFL fan.
No, and Lou, if this team is going to make a playoff push, they have to run the ball 35 plus times a game. You
hmm
don't do that when you have a quarterback that you're supremely confident in. And that's just the facts. It's just the facts. The last game that I would say that I saw Jimmy air that hoe out and just do it effectively and make very convincing throws was against the New Orleans Saints in 2019. That game that
That
just
was
went back and forth. Like, you can't watch that tape and tell me he just didn't make throws and make big time plays. And that game was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But he hasn't done that since. Even in the Rams game, it's not so much the missed throws, it's the missed opportunities that he doesn't take to me that are
okay.
more concerning, right? Like,
Now when you add both of those together, then
well, no,
that's
because he still might complete a pass that's like a 6-yard check down. But then you go back and watch the film and you're like, what was wrong with that wide receiver that was running down the middle of the field that you were staring at, that all you had to do was put over a linebacker's head which an NFL quarterback should be able to do. That's the concern, right? Like,
Mhm.
is like, to the novice fan who's just watching the NFL game camera going, you're like, oh, he completed the pass, right? 5-6 yards. All right, you move the chains, but you're like, but you just literally missed the touchdown. And this is why it's such a problem, is because OCs like Shanahan, McVay, Cliff Kingsbury, even though they're all head coaches, to me, they're all OCs. Every play they draw up, dude, is designed to score a touchdown. They
Their
don't
thought
draw
that
up
yeah,
plays for 4 yards or 5 yards. They draw up plays to score touchdowns.
their thought process, touchdown to check down.
Exactly.
That is their thought process,
And
correct.
Jimmy makes the check down look real sexy, right? Like, he does the check down real well. Um, but that's it, right? Like, I do think the way that he's playing right now, he's making it harder for Kyle to say, like, I'm gonna move to Lance, right? Because you're winning football games. You're actually still in the playoff hunt. So it's hard to get away from that. But other than that, there's not a lot to talk about this game. They did exactly what they were supposed to. They beat a bad football team. If this game was close, we'd be having an entirely different conversation. But it wasn't, and it was out of hand early. And it is what it is. And this week we're on to a really, really, really big game against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
All right.
Who has been balling the last 2 weeks? They beat the Chargers 2 weeks ago, and the Packers, an Aaron Rodgers led Packers team.
While Aaron Rodgers actually balled out, but so did Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
Kirk Cousins is getting slept on, dude. He's been having a phenomenal year this year, actually.
he has been. It's
Yep.
just
And Justin Jefferson is so good.
yeah, it's just Kirk Cousins. When Kirk Cousins is bad, it's bad.
It's
Like
Jimmy G syndrome.
I'm talking about like 88 yards total passing. Like it is like,
I know.
and that's what people. That's that and his primetime performances. Is that what people? That's how they see Kirk Cousins in that light.
I think this game should have been flexed to Sunday Night Football, but it is what it is. All right. So we scrapped a segment. I mentioned in our intro, Lou, that it's Thanksgiving week. And what would Thanksgiving week be without us expressing what we are thankful for? So kudos to you, but I'm going to go ahead and title this our Thanksgiving special. I'll let you lead in. Lou, on this Thanksgiving Eve in 2021, when the world has been so crazy, what are you thankful for?
I'm going to be a little homer right now, but I am extremely thankful and grateful for this new look and young Chargers team. Keenan Allen and Joey Bosa are the only leftovers left from the San Diego Chargers. Everyone else is an authentic Los Angeles Charger that's on that team. Just like many people in Los Angeles, the Chargers have gone through a massive facelift with this franchise, and with plastic surgery, it turns either really good or really bad. And I'm just happy to see that it looks like this Chargers team is turning out really good. They're young, they're exciting, they're aggressive, and they're finding ways to win games as opposed to lose games. So I'm extremely happy to have and thankful for this young Chargers team. I know it's a homer pick. I seldom do it other than the hometown takes. I seldom talk about the Chargers in that regard, but I have to stick true to myself.
All right. So, Lou, I'm going to make you feel like a piece of shit here and make you look bad and make myself look supreme. But I'll give you the chance to rebuttal, because I know when we set this segment up, we said, like, what are we thankful about from a football perspective? But I'm going to be super corny, and I'm going to take this to another level, and I'm going to rein it back in for football. But like I said, I'll give you a chance to refute yourself here, in case Christina wants to listen to this. But this year, especially at this time, I am super thankful for my wife supporting me and in this podcast. She allows me to take the time to work on our content, to edit our videos. And most importantly, Lou, she actually critiques the shit out of me. I make her listen to this all the time, whether it's just an intro, whether it's just to make sure the mic's right, whether it's to make sure that I'm not saying too many or repetitive words, but she does, and she listens, and a lot of things that I have put into play from our conversation perspective and the way that I verbalize things is directly from her feedback. So I am super thankful and super grateful for that. She literally helps me get better every single week, every single episode. But I'm also thankful, Lou, for you. I'm thankful for this podcast. It's been a fantastic outlet. It's been super enjoyable. Outside of my wife and kid time, I look forward to our time every week, man. And I need you to know that. I'm so glad and so grateful that you said yes when I approached you with this opportunity to go on the air and have 3 people listen to us week after week. But I can't thank you enough for just taking a chance on me, taking a chance on We're Talking Football. I hope you've had as much fun as I've had, and I'll leave you with this. I am always thankful for my 49ers. They give me extreme pleasure and extreme pain every single week. My life would not be the same without them. It is literally my passion, the NFL, and specifically my San Francisco 49ers. This particular season, I'm actually only grateful for Deebo Samuel. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I've enjoyed him mature as a football player. I never imagined when we used a second round pick on him 3 years ago, based on who was still on that board, that he would amount to what we're seeing right now. It's been a lot of fun. And the way this season's gone, I'm just grateful to be 500 heading into Thanksgiving week. So that is what I am thankful for. I will give it back to you to give you an opportunity to see if you want to elaborate anymore, because I threw a curveball. You had no expectation I was going to say any of those things. But I do think, as much as we have fun here every once in a while, you and I both know we can't do any of this without the support of our wives and our family.
Weston, you son of a bitch. Way to make me
Christina, I did it all for you.
First of all, no, you didn't, because you did it for yourself to make yourself look great. And bravo to you. And once again, this is what I get for slow playing my hand, because my notes next says, thank the listeners and the wife. I was doing football first. So I was following our conversation, but you had to pull a fast one on me. All kidding aside, bro. I am extremely grateful for the listeners we have. First and foremost, we don't have a lot of listeners, but we got a bunch of loyal listeners. So shout out to the regulars like Rich White, Rob White, Frank Bergaretta. Go ahead, shout out some of your crew that listens to it frequently.
Boho, we love you. Andrew Curtis, you the man, AC. Ryan Dragedy, all you guys. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's an hour and 35 minutes. We appreciate you.
Yeah, love the listeners, love the support that we've been getting from them. And you're right. If it wasn't for my wife, being so enthusiastic and so supportive during this time, we wouldn't be able to do as much as we have and put as much time and effort we have watching games. I watch games multiple times, a week and what have you, and do a bunch of research too. So I'm so thankful for my wife Christina for basically giving me this opportunity and allowing me to throw myself into this hobby. To be honest with you. Yep. So I'm thankful for that, and for you too, man. Listen, you had a bunch of people you could have asked to do the show with, and I remember the day I was ridiculously shocked when you asked me. I was like, yeah, but here I am. I was a writer, I wrote for a couple of websites and what have you, but I never thought about doing a podcast. So I'm like, yeah, this would be right up my alley. Why not? Let's give it a whirl. So I'm thankful for you also too asking me to be a part of this as well, man.
Yep, and I'm glad you said yes, man. You were top of mind. I know you said I had other people I could have reached out to. You're not necessarily incorrect about that, but you were top of mind. Most important to me is somebody who's willing and able. You are both those things. And I'll give a shout out to Christina. Thankful for her as well, because we got this started in a studio. So shout out to Ming at a Shared Universe podcast studio, who we would have never have known if it wasn't for Christina and the work that she's done with them as well. So
yeah.
Lou, when all said and done, you and I are pretty lucky individuals outside of what we do here, for an hour or two a week. We have a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. But I know I threw you for a loop, and I'm sure you had some of that stuff there. Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I told my wife, I was like, Jenny, I'm going to talk about you on this podcast. And she's like, well, you better bring the tissues. And if you don't cry, I'll kill you. So
I'm not crying. I just got something in both my eyes.
I'm in a basement. It's dingy and dusty down here.
I'm just cutting up onions for Thanksgiving dinner.
with my oven that doesn't work. Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you entertaining me there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's get back to some of the norm here in our typical
Yeah, let's
routine.
bro out,
Yeah,
man
yeah,
up.
yeah,
All
yeah, yeah.
right, all right, all
All
right.
right, all right,
All right, who was your offensive player of the week, Weston? There we go.
all
Feel
right.
better now.
You're gonna let me start.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes,
I got a couple. There was a couple good performances
there
this week, but
was, there really
I'm
was.
gonna go ahead and take the low hanging fruit and the most obvious.
That's fine.
JT Jonathan Taylor, 32, 32 carries for 185 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he added a receiving touchdown. I carry this man in 2 fantasy football leagues, and you're talking about 60 plus points this week. JT, you are the man, sir, and you had a monster. Lou, do the math. 32 for 185. That's a lot of touches, 32 touches.
Mm-hmm.
It's different if you see like 32 for like 120, but you see 32 for 185. That's still almost 6 yards a carry. That's
Yeah,
pretty
you know what
impressive.
that's like? That's like 1997 type football right there.
Sure
Like
is.
you're
Eddie
running
George type football, dude.
Clinton Portis type
Yep.
football. Come on, you just keep on Frank Gore type. Just straight
That's
up.
how
Like,
long Gore's been in the league, bro.
yeah, for real.
Hey, shout out to Frank Gore, who is fighting a boxing match against Deron Williams in December. I will be purchasing that fight.
All right. Well, I will not be.
You can come over
So
for it.
for offensive player of the week, like you said, there's a lot. I'm going to give a little love to a player that I was not high on coming into this year, Joe Mixon. I
Yeah.
was befuddled why everyone was on the Mixon train. I even think I said something when we were doing our offseason recaps of the Bengals. Why does everyone love this guy Mixon? It's always talk about his ability, but he's never on the field, and seldom does he ever do anything. But he this year he's been pretty consistent. And this past week he had 30 carries for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. So shout out to Joe Mixon for really proving me wrong and showing that I know absolutely nothing about Bengals football. I just wasn't high on him. The offensive line, his ability to stay on the field and fight off injuries, but he's been really good this year.
All right. I'm surprised you didn't take the other low hanging fruit. Maybe you felt like you were giving your team a little too much
Yeah.
love this week.
See, I feel like I'm fair, bro. I feel like I'm fair when it comes to the.
You are fair. You are firm, but very fair with your team. So funny because I'm looking at my notes and I must have been typing fast, and I have it as Justin Ian's goalie, like the way that I have it spelled out. I don't have it Herbert. But Herbert balled, bro. 30 for 41, 382, 3 TDs, 9 carries for 90 yards. I mean, he
almost had 500 yards of offense
and 472 yards of offense.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's a game and a half, right? Statistically speaking, that is literally a game and a half. He single-handedly carried this team to victory in a game that they should have easily won, but became increasingly difficult and still found a way to win. So
also, by the way,
I tip my hat to Mr. Herbert.
He won the FedEx Air Player of the Week this week. And just to throw insult to injury, I'm actually going to give some love to Justin Jefferson, the guy who finished second in Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. Georgia fans and Viking fans have a little budding rivalry here because they're firm believers that he should have been the Offensive Rookie of the Year, where I think they're 100% ridiculous out there in the Midwest. But Justin Jefferson, the last couple of weeks, he's been phenomenal. This past week, he had 8 receptions for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. So kudos to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, he balled. He definitely balled.
His quarterback is balling. I felt like he played equally as good as Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers had a phenomenal game.
Yeah, that game was crazy, right? Like when A-Rod goes for 385 and four touchdowns, and you lose the game, you don't expect that to happen.
That bomb, when Rodgers threw that bomb, I think it was a 75-yard bomb for a touchdown, and they were like, everyone was joking. Oh, did you give Kirk Cousins too much time on the clock? And guess what? They did. That's how much he gets slept on.
There is a reason Kyle Shanahan wanted this man, right? Like, Kirk Cousins can play football. The issue is like you said, the bad is seemingly real bad, right?
But he can't bounce back from it. Like, it's like it's
the optics of it. The bad is just real bad.
He just can't fight through a game. Like if he starts off slow and bad,
that's it.
I think it gets in his head.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, listen, he's a heady guy, right? Like he's a very passionate guy out there. And I think that's probably to his detriment at times that he's just like, it's the raw emotion, right? So he's probably his biggest fan when he's balling, and he's probably his harshest critic when he is not. He's not that even keel,
Hmm.
ice in the veins, like type guy
Yep.
where you don't see the expression change. Like when he's having a bad game, it is visibly obvious to every single person watching the game with the pointing the finger,
Hmm.
grabbing his head, like, oh my God, how did you not catch that ball? Like
Yep.
he's not the guy who's like, all right, just get back in the huddle, clap it up, and go right back to that guy, right? Like it's different.
He is like the John Starks of the NFL.
It's true.
For your young people out there, which we probably don't
Who
have
have
too
no
many out
idea who
there,
John Starks is.
John Starks was a New York Knicks shooting guard that would either put up 50 points in a game, just launching threes all over the place, single-handedly carrying the Knicks, to a win, or he would shoot 50 times and score 4 points in a game. He's going to win it or lose it for you.
Yep.
So there's no ifs and or buts with that. Correct me if I'm wrong with my description there, Weston.
You are extremely accurate, and now we are no longer the We're Talking Football podcast. We also talk
Branch, branch,
basketball
branching out, bro.
podcast.
Branching
I
out, bro.
I can't even watch the NBA anymore, dude. That's a whole nother
All
side
right, come
piece.
on, Boomer. Let's go to defensive player of the
All
week.
right, you
I
go
want to start
first.
So here's a player that I always loved, and when I covered him for the draft process, I wanted the Chargers to draft him. I thought he was extremely versatile. People weren't as high as him, weren't as high as him as I was coming out in the draft. He's from BYU. The Rams selected him, and pretty much not Rams, excuse me, the Lions selected him, and he wasted his talent with the Detroit Lions, but then found a home in New England. Kyle Van Noy.
Yes, sir.
He had 8 tackles, 2 sacks, an interception, and a touchdown. This guy's a Swiss Army knife. He's not a tweener. He had a big game, for the New England Patriots. So shout out to Kyle Van Noy for having a fantastic game this past week. He was all over the
No,
field.
yeah, Kyle was my number one too.
So I thought you were going for one of those sack guys.
So I am going one of those sack guys since you stole Van Noy from me, who was a sack guy, right? Like, I mean, he had 2 sacks this week. It's an
Mm-hmm.
impressive week. But the individual I'm going to talk about is somebody that I touted very highly when we were doing our top 10 pass
Yes.
rushers of the year. And I thought this man had a unique skill set, can line up up and down the defensive line, but did a lot of his damage from the defensive tackle spot. So Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs,
Yes. He was
5 tackles, 3.5 sacks, a pass defensed, had a fumble recovery, and 3 QB hits.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah,
All while going up against Zach Martin.
yeah,
Now
no slouch.
he wasn't always best guard in the league. He wasn't always lined up on Zach Martin, but he
Quentin
definitely
Nelson is the best guard in the league. Just side record.
he's not there yet, my friend.
Yes, he is. He was
All
there
right,
the minute he stepped on the football field, bro. He's an animal.
Respect your elders. All kidding aside, Chris Jones, he beat Zach Martin for a sack. He just was all over. He was phenomenal. I'll let you talk, but he was phenomenal against the Cowboys this past week.
Nothing else to say other than where's this game been all year? Because this is what this man is capable
Well,
of, you know?
two things. They finally moved him inside as opposed to him aligning as a defensive end, and I think they're going to more man coverage as opposed to zone to help mitigate some of miscommunication errors by Dirty Dan Sorensen and what have you. So I think they change their scheme a little bit too. If you notice, the last couple of weeks they've been a little more stingier on that defensive side
Yep.
of the ball. So,
All right. Who's your number 2?
I guess Robert Quinn.
Okay.
He had 5 tackles and 3.5 sacks. Against the Baltimore Ravens. I know it was against a backup quarterback and what have you, but still, when you get to that 3 number of sacks, you gotta be recognized. 2, people can fall into 2. Once you start getting that 3, you're starting to get into the upper echelon for a game. So 3.5 sacks, Robert Quinn.
Yeah, I had Bobby on my list too. I thought he played a good football game, and I don't care, backup quarterback, third string quarterback, freshman quarterback. Like you said, when you get to 3 sacks in a game, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Because once you get past 2, offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators should be accounting for you, so to let you get another 1.5. means you're doing something right. My last that I had on this list was actually Desmond King. Um, 8 tackles, 2 passes defensed, and 2 picks. Um, Impressive. I think when you think about pass rushers, you get to two plus sacks in a game. Defensive backs, multiple pick games are always
Mm-hmm.
noteworthy. And shout out to him, big game. That's a big 8 tackles and 2 picks from a defensive back. That's a big game.
Especially when he's on a team that's what- they won 2 games for the year.
Yeah,
It's easy just to go out there and just go through the motions and what have you. But he really for him to find himself and pick himself up during a game like that, good for him, man.
yeah, agreed. All right, so let's move out of our players of the week. This is the segment Lou, that I've actually been looking most forward to this entire week, putting our content together, because I think there's a lot of exciting things to come. The first thing to mention is that it's Thanksgiving week, so instead of one Thursday night game, you have an all-day Thursday of festivities. So you have
Of
3 games
awful
to
of
look.
awful games.
I know. So, but there's still 3 football games, right? So, something to look forward to when you're sitting with family or people that you don't know all that well, whatever the case might be. Maybe you have a distraction.
I just I saw something funny. I thought it was a funny joke that the Lions Bears game got flexed out to the Big Ten network. So they will not be playing tomorrow on national TV.
Breaking news that Jared Goff is expected to start,
This is I mean,
which I
okay,
think is,
sure, okay, fine.
yeah, like still think that's a detriment to the team at this point. All right. So, what are you watching this week? I'm going to be the first to admit that I have 5 games on my list that
All
are
right.
intriguing to me, and I'm going to say something about all 5. I don't care.
Well,
So,
you got to make it quick, man. My quiche is
they're going to be quick.
downstairs. I like my
Yeah.
quiche is downstairs. I don't want it to burn. I got like 7 minutes left. So I'm gonna start off, by the way, not with a game. I'm
Let's
starting
go.
off with a matchup. Jonathan Taylor versus the Tampa Bay rush defense. Tampa Bay has the best rush defense in the league. They allow 784 rushing yards this season, which is the fewest in the NFL. They rank second in the NFL by allowing 3.8 yards per carry. This is that old adage. What is it? The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Who's gonna, especially if Vita Vea comes back because he missed last week? Who
What gives?
who's
Yep.
gonna what's gonna give? Who's gonna bend? So I'm getting my popcorn ready for that matchup because that is going to be a hell of a matchup.
So that was my number 1 game. I just
Me,
think
me is more of the matchup as opposed to the game. But go ahead.
agreed, but I think it's the overall game too, right? Like the AFC landscape is consistently shifting. And, Tennessee has a really tough matchup this weekend as well. Indy has a good opportunity here to make some noise in that AFC South and playoff contentions and things of that nature. And they're coming off a really impressive win against what we've all thought is a team that would dominate in the AFC. Lou, it wasn't until a few weeks ago where you were like, they're AFC champs, right? Like based on the way that they're playing against the Buffalo Bills. Um, so they've had 2 impressive weeks in a row. What can they do with it, right? And what now you're looking at playing some of the cream of the crop. You're defending Super Bowl champions in Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this game will tell you everything you need to know about the Indianapolis Colts.
I agree.
Are they ready for prime time football? I think they are. I think they are up for the task. And we'll talk about that when we get into our pick'ems. But
Okay.
that was game number 1 on my list.
Okay.
Game number 2, Tennessee Titans versus New England Patriots. These are 2 of the top teams in the AFC right now. And you mentioned it before, right? Like when I look at Tennessee, I look at a lot of impressive wins and I look at a few unimpressive losses that I just can't wrap my head around between the Jets and the Texans. And New England's, they're playing well, dude. Like they are arguably
Pisses me off.
yeah, it's so bad.
Why won't they
outside
just
of their
die?
record, I know. Outside of this, is how I feel about Tom Brady. Outside of their record, they're arguably the best team in the AFC right now in terms of how they're playing, how they're executing. They're winning convincingly. They're not just winning these close games.
Could I say something? You literally said that I think the week before about the Titans. So hopefully
I I'm the
your bet.
Jinx.
Yeah, hopefully you're the Maloik there.
Yeah, I am literally the Maloik, and we'll talk about that when we get into pick'ems. But to me, this is a big time football game, right? For both teams. Now, good news for both of them is it's a non-divisional game, right? Like, or so not a ton of impact there. Uh, but a matchup that you could be seeing in the short term in a divisional playoff round or in a wild card playoff round. So I don't think this is the last time these two teams meet, and I'm interested to see this.
See, it doesn't do it for me for the mere fact that I Derrick Henry is not suiting up. That would have got my gears going, as Peter Griffin would
But
say.
but they've
Uh,
smacked around the Rams without Derrick Henry. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's different, man. The
It,
Rams are soft.
well, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute as well. But here it's so funny because I was talking to somebody about throughout the week about Jonathan Taylor and about how he leads the league in rushing yards, but Derrick Henry still leads the league in carries and hasn't played in 3 weeks. And
Mhm.
up until JT's performance this week, still led the league in rushing yards.
Mhm.
And you and I both know this because we both lost him in fantasy football and how much that has like literally just changed the complexion of our teams. But crazy. But I do think,
Thanks for bringing that up.
yeah, no problem. Happy to make you feel miserable. That's what I'm thankful for, the opportunity to make you feel miserable.
You're doing a great job this episode,
Just
by
a
the way.
I appreciate that. Misery loves company, Lou. What else do you want me to tell you? But I think if Tennessee wants to be taken serious, they need to prove that they can still win football. Hey, you said they have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. If you have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you should be a playoff ready team. No?
I mean, they're eight. What are they 8-2, bro? I mean, come on, man. They had a bad week.
Yeah, but everybody's chalking this up like where are they supposed to go without Derrick Henry? And I mean, what's New England? 6 and
Well,
4?
how many games did Henry, miss already, and they still won those games? So
That's what I'm saying. Like you're literally making my point for me is that they can
no,
still
no,
find
no, no.
ways to
I'm
win
trying. I'm
football
trying to
games.
defend my having Tannehill as a top 10 quarterback in the league. I'm not trying to make your point.
No, well, you made my point, so making me look like a genius. All right, what else you got? What
I'm
else you
gonna
want?
think. I'm not gonna. Once again, I'm not gonna take the easy way out. I'm not gonna say the Rams versus Green Bay. I'm not doing that because I know
I'll
you're
do
gonna
that.
say
Don't
that.
worry. Yep.
I'm gonna think outside the box here. The Houston Texans versus the New York Jets. Wait a minute. Hear me out. All right. This is a
How do
huge.
I stop recording on this?
No, 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 no. This is a huge game to determine who's going to have a top three pick next year, which is a huge ramification because there are 3 to 5 really good players coming out in the draft next year. We won't get into that right now, but you want to secure one of those earlier picks. This will be a meaningless win for either team. The Jets might want it more because Salah has been getting a little more heat. You want to see what you have in Zach Wilson and what have you, but it's a meaningless game, and you got to start hoping to move up close to the top of that draft.
I think it benefits the Jets more than it does the Texans to lose the
Yes,
football game because there is not a, in my opinion, a top 5 worthy quarterback in this draft.
correct.
And the Houston Texans need a quarterback
Well,
because Deshaun Watson is not going to be the quarterback of the Houston Texans next year. But we have all off season to talk about that, so let's not get
can't
into
wait.
that. I
Can't wait.
know. I was actually talking to somebody about this. He was asking me how much time we put into prep, and I was like, actually, the season's pretty easy, right? Because we have a format, and it's just like new content week to week, but the format's similar. I was like, the off season is the struggle where you got
Yeah,
to put in
all the
time
research.
and hours and all that research. And that's just like making my point, right? Like how excited I am to talk about like where's Deshaun Watson going to play football next year?
Please let's not start this right now,
I know. All right. So
because
look,
then you're gonna start talking about Tua, and then all right, let's just go to your next game.
You already know how I feel about that
I
person.
know.
And don't let one game fool you because it was against the New York Jets. That being said, so I'll take some low hanging fruit. Actually, I'll avoid the low hanging fruit. I'm interested in this Pitt versus Cincinnati game.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, you know me, I am the biggest sucker for divisional games. I think they make for the best football. Teams that play each other twice a year, consistently, year over year. Pitt obviously played your Chargers well. They've been winning some football
No,
games.
they didn't. They played one quarter. They played one quarter well.
What was that final score? That's all I'm saying, right? Like sometimes it only needs to be one quarter. And that being said, Pittsburgh was still winning games coming into this game. Cincinnati, was the darling of the town early and often in this season. Hit a little dip, maybe trying to find their stride right now. I just think it's going to be a competitive football game like divisional games always are. You got anything else, or are you just going to let me rattle through?
Go ahead. I got
All
nothing
right,
else. I
all right.
told you I got my quiche in the oven,
All
bro.
right. Well, I'll move quick. So
Okay.
I do have the Rams and the Packers just because of records, right? Top two of the top teams in the NFC. What I really want to see is you mentioned this before that the Rams are soft and they're coming off consecutive embarrassing losses on national television and going into their bye week. I do believe that the football team will be motivated, but I don't know what that motivation amounts to. And you have Green Bay coming off a very tough divisional loss to a good Minnesota Viking team. So I'm just interested to see how these two teams play out because when all is said and done, these are two of the playoff teams, regardless. Like Green Bay is going to win the North. There's no question about that. Um, the Rams are still in contention for the West, and if the Cardinals don't cardinal, in the second half of this NFL season, which I don't believe they will. But I do think, the Rams are going to have a home playoff game in well, no, can they? No, they can't. They will have uh, a playoff game. Like they're going to be in the playoffs. The Rams are going to be in the playoffs unless they just like completely shit the bed. And I don't see a Sean McVay team doing that. But I want to see what they're made of because this is playoff caliber competition. And what are they going to look like? The knock on Stafford is he'll get you to the playoffs, but he don't win the playoff game, right? This is
He
a
doesn't.
playoff
He
game.
doesn't win against winning teams.
Exactly. So we'll see what that looks like. My final one, and this is the homer pick and why I saved it for last, but I am super excited to watch this Vikings versus 49ers matchup.
Mm-hmm.
This game has got playoff implications written all over it. Two teams that feel like they're finding themselves and their identity and are certainly over the last 2 weeks at the very least playing better than what their record says they are. But the winner of this team can the winner of this game can draw a straight line to the playoffs. They literally control their destiny from here on out.
Yeah, for me, this is going to basically declare who is the real contender and who's the pretender. It's going to be a catastrophic loss for either because, I mean, you still can sneak into the playoffs because there's 7 teams, but this is going to, they're both tough teams and neither teams you want to play because you got to throw out their record and they're going to play you tough regardless. I want to see who's for real. And we'll talk about that. A good segue, by the way, seeing who's for real because we're going to do our pick'ems now.
Let's go. It is pick'em time. As I always do, I will recap the previous week.
You don't
Disclaimer.
have to do that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Disclaimer, we didn't start doing this until week 7, right? Like was week 7 or week 6
Something
our
like
first
that.
week? Week
Yeah.
6, I think, was our first week. I don't know why we didn't do this from the jump, but here we are nonetheless after week 11. Lou, last week you were 7-8.
I'll take it. I thought it was way worse.
I was 8-7.
Oh, you
So
picked up a game.
I picked up a game for you. What pisses me off is I went back and listened through these, and here's what's funny. You originally picked the Washington football team and changed your mind.
I did.
And went back to the Panthers. That was literally the difference, that game. I literally, for whatever reason, was like, the Cleveland Browns will win this game. I promise you they're going to win this game, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Detroit Lions anyway. And it's like, what idiot does that? Like you said, they're going to win the game. Pick them to win the game. So I had a chance to pick up 2 on you. and didn't. But I did pick up a game on you. So for the season, you are 50, 34, and 1. I am 45, 39, and 1.
Okay.
So I'm going to make my life easier instead of having to go back and do this and listen for 20 minutes as we go through the pick'ems. I've already decided that I'm going to write down who each of us picks so that I could just look at the goddamn score afterwards.
This guy is not only the talent, he's not only the voice of We're Talking Football, he's also the producer, the intern. I mean, this guy, what can he do?
Bro, listen, we're accepting applications for any data analysts, anybody who wants to do this shit, because this is becoming top heavy to say the least. All right. I already talked about Thursday night, 3 games, or Thursday, 3 games. The first on the Big Ten Network, the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. Andy Dalton starting for the Bears, by the way.
Give me the Bears.
Yeah, I'm Bears too, man.
Although
this game is in Detroit.
I know that means nothing.
You know what?
If Goff was healthier, I would have.
I'm taking the Lions, bro.
I'm taking the Lions. Okay.
I'm just trying to gain a game, and I just feel like if the Lions are gonna win. So when you think of Thanksgiving football, what are the 2 teams you think of?
Cowboys and Lions.
All right, right? Like if the Lions are gonna win a game, it's got to be on Thanksgiving, in my opinion. So this will be the last time I pick the Detroit Lions this year if they do not win this game. All right, second game up. You got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Dallas Cowboys.
I was never a believer of the Raiders, even when they do it all the time, every year.
Yeah.
Early success and fade to black. They're fading to black. I'm going to say Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm Cowboys too, especially after. Well, so what's funny, Lou, is like, and I think I said this. I hope I said this because if I didn't, I'll be mad at myself. But like the Chargers Steelers game, especially that fourth quarter, was like what I thought the Cowboys Chiefs game should have been and what everybody was saying. And we were on Jason's show.
You said it. Yep.
I said for the fantasy football, and everybody's saying you got it.
It's going to be a blowout. You got
a
shootout game.
Yeah, yep, it's going to be a shootout. Get as many players from both offenses as you can. And I was on that bandwagon, but I did make the disclaimer, which meant it was going to be a 10-6 game. And for all intents and purposes, it was a 10-6 game, right? When all is said and done. But I think the Cowboys bounce back in real fashion after that. And I know CD might not play. Amari might not play.
Might.
Who, CD?
CD, they said CD has a good chance of playing. Amari can't.
Either way, like, Gallup balls, Schultz balls, they'll run the football all over Las Vegas. All right, Bills at Saints.
I got to go Bills here.
Yeah, I have to take the Bills after that loss last week.
Could be a trap game, but don't the Bills play New England next week? So I don't think it's going to be a trap game, but
I don't think this can be a trap game because you just got smacked, right?
Yeah, you got to look at New Orleans.
It's hard to get trapped. The traps usually happen when you're coming off a win and you're going into a team that you think you can beat. But when you just got smoked in the fashion in which they got smoked, if you're not up for this short week in this game, like that's really telling for the Buffalo Bills. So
New Orleans injury list is longer than the ingredients in my quiche. I'm telling you right now.
And just got smacked by Philly, which. By the way, dude, Philly is making a playoff push, which is pretty crazy to begin with.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the Sunday matchups. Steelers-Bengals in Cincinnati.
I'm going to go Steelers.
I'm going Bengals.
Okay.
I just like
the Steelers are getting a lot. They're getting Fitzpatrick back. They're getting Watt back, Hayden back. I mean, those are big.
It tips because it's in Cincy for me. That's it.
Okay.
All right. I mean, it's literally that's why it tips. Tampa Bay at Indianapolis.
I'm going Tampa.
So I'm going Tampa too, and I'm going Tampa because I just feel like momentum is a real thing in the NFL, right? And you just came off this monster win against the Buffalo Bills. Like, it's really hard to duplicate those performances. And the
Mhm.
way that they did it was by dominating the run game, which, if you go back and listen to when we were talking about the Bills Colts game, yes, we both picked the Bills, but we both said this game would be a lot closer than people would think. And
And
we
it
would
wasn't
said this,
really.
it wasn't, but
On
we
the
said
others.
because of the run game, right?
Yeah.
Like where the surprise was, I
It was
mean,
the
dude,
defense.
Wentz threw for like 100 yards in this game, literally
Yeah.
like
The
102 or
Colts
106
defense
yards.
is what surprised me.
100%. We thought that Buffalo would be able to throw the ball all over them,
Yeah.
but they didn't. So I'm going TB12,
Okay.
and i.e. TB here as well.
Yep.
All right, Carolina at Miami.
Give me Carolina.
See, I was just writing it in too. I want to take Miami here, but I can't. I just think Cam is second week starting. I'll talk about him a little bit more in a moment, but I think he's going to change the momentum there a little bit, and I don't have a lot of faith in this
I'm
Miami
such a
Dolphin
Cam
football team.
hater, but I can just
Me
see
too.
I can
Me
see
too.
the storylines now. Cam wins,
Yeah.
and then this,
All right, Titans at New England.
New England.
Wow. Like you didn't even hesitate there.
Yeah, no. New England now they have two running backs that can run the ball. Like that and now they have some receivers making play. No, this is New England all day, every day,
Yeah,
twice on
I
Sunday.
got New England too. I think I'm excited to watch this game, but I think
See, I'm not. I don't
you
think
don't
it's
think it's
gonna
gonna
be
be
that.
close.
No, I don't.
Wow.
I don't. Yeah.
See, I here's why it's gonna be close. Mike Vrabel is gonna have his team ready to play his former coach.
I agree. And Tannehill does a great job playing New England. Look at his records. They beat him in the playoffs. I think 2 years back. And he's always been like pretty competitive with Miami. He has a pretty good record. I think it was like 4-6, which you're like, oh, 4-6 is a good record against New England. When those Miami teams, yeah, to
Yeah,
win 4 of those 10 games, yeah, I would say so. So, but
agreed.
I still think it's New England. It's not even close.
All right. How about Philadelphia against the G-Men?
I mean, how could you say the Giants? They look totally disarrayed. Hate their head coach. Hated their offensive coordinator. Their quarterback is a turnover machine. A turnover machine. The only good thing is about their defense, but their defense towards the later stages of the game get tired and worn out. What's going on with Barkley? The offensive. How can you say the Giants? You're just saying it to be cute right now. If you're going to say the Giants, it has to be the Eagles.
So I'm putting you down for the Giants.
Yes, Giants. Yeah. Lock.
Yeah, I just think the Giants are a mess right now, unfortunately. So I'm Philly too. Atlanta at Jacksonville.
Do I have to? Do I have to pick it?
You have to pick it.
Uh,
Patterson's playing.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm Atlanta too. Just because Patterson's playing, I think he's a little bit of a
I'm
different
Atlanta
thing.
because they had a couple extra days off.
Couple extra days off, and I think a bad break for Jacksonville was losing Jamal Agnew against the 49ers. I didn't think he
Yeah,
was
I know.
going
I
to do
had him on a
anything, but
fantasy team.
me too. But he seemed to be like a cog for them, over the last couple
He
of
was the
weeks.
playmaker. He was the
Yeah,
playmaker.
and they don't even have that anymore, so that's a wrap. All right, your game of the week, the New York Jets at the Houston Texans.
Give me the Texans. Hold on. Yeah, give me the Texans.
You're taking Houston. All right.
I do want to take the Jets though, because that would be so Jets-like to win a meaningless game.
I'm taking the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets. Yeah.
Ah, you son of a bitch.
Here, you gotta think about it. I can just hear, WFAN,
Yeah,
or,
I totally agree.
why they try to win this game?
Yeah. I was, dude, I was all over it to your point. Like, this is so something the Jets would do is win a game that
totally
they,
mess it up.
yeah, that's just like stupid to win, right? Like, could have Trevor Lawrence, but you went ahead and won a football game last year,
Yeah, I'm going Jets.
All right, I'm going Jets too. All right, Chargers at Broncos.
Broncos always play the Chargers tough. I think they're 5-15 in the last 20 against the Broncos. All that being said, though,
I'm Chargers here.
I am. This might have been one of the first times I'm picking the Chargers. I'm going Chargers.
Maybe I should pick the fucking Broncos. I don't know. I'm Chargers. Rams, Packers. In Green Bay.
Ooh, this is tough. Aaron Rodgers is banged up with a big toe. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw this press conference. He showed his big toe. I don't know what the hell's going on with Rodgers. Rams coming off 2 big losses. You know what? Give me the Rams.
Whoa.
Yep. Coming off a bye, extra time to prepare. I just felt like they played them good last year, the Rams, right? In Green Bay. And now they got Stafford back. I mean, they got Stafford. He's better than Goff. I just think he'll be the difference maker.
I'm taking the Packers because Aaron Rodgers' foot's been all over social media, and I just feel like when he does these things, it's
you got Rex Ryan like going like this.
I know, just fucking foot fetishes everywhere. I'm taking the Packers.
Okay, I'll go Rams.
Vikings, 49ers.
In San Fran?
In San Fran.
I'll take San Fran.
I'm taking the Vikings.
Okay.
I'm taking the Vikings. I just think the Vikings are playing really good football right now.
They are playing good football.
Yeah.
Can I change that? Can I change that?
No.
Okay.
No, you can. You can if you want to, but I prefer you didn't because I need to make up the ground.
I always go first. I feel like a lot of pressure for me to think out these things.
I'll go first on the next one.
All right, I'm going Vikings. I'm switching it back to Vikings.
All right.
Sorry to be a pain. You go first this one.
All right, I'm going. So we have Cleveland at Baltimore. I'm assuming Lamar plays, therefore it is Baltimore.
I will go with Baltimore as well because I think his dysentery is probably cured by now. I don't know if that was really it.
His chlamydia has cleaned up.
Apparently, he was curled up in a ball on the plane or something. So I'm going to say the
clap will do that to you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll take your word for it, Weston. Go ahead.
Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. That's good advice. One of the all-time greatest movies. You know what movie I'm referencing?
Yeah.
All right. So I had said this one time to somebody at a work function across the country, and I was like, bro, A League of Their Own is like literally one of my favorite movies of all time. They're like, are you serious? I'm like, have you watched this movie? It's fucking phenomenal. I came back to work in my entire like cubicle, and this is years ago, bro. This is like 8-9 years ago. My entire cubicle was decked out in printed pictures of scenes from A League of Their Own. That's like they literally got back early from this trip to like decorate my entire office cubicle in pictures of it. And I was like, I'm not even I'm not even embarrassed that you did this. Like the movie, look at the lineup in that movie, dude. It is out of control. All right, final matchup here. Seahawks at Washington.
The Seahawks, Seahawks, has to be Seahawks. They lost 2 in a row, right? Well, they lost more than 2 in a row, but they lost 2 with Russell.
The last 2 with Russell, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say Seahawks.
I so badly want to say Seahawks just because this game's away. It's on the East Coast, but it's a primetime Monday night game, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I'm gonna have to take the Seahawks too.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I think Washington's playing good football, but I've Russell Wilson ever lost 3 in a row since he's been a starting quarterback? The answer is probably not.
Probably not.
And I don't see that breaking against a Washington football team. All right, so there you go. Makes it a lot easier for me now that I have them all written down.
All right.
Go back and listen to. Love that. All right, let's get into our final and favorite segment of the week here,
Yeah,
Lou.
it's fancy football time, and the quiche timer just went off. So let's bang some of these out real
Let's go.
quick.
You
All
keep
right,
talking about this quiche. I feel like it's going to burn your fucking house down if you don't get to
dude.
it.
To be honest, I don't know what the fuck a quiche is.
I know you don't. I
I
know.
know. I know. You think I fucking eat quiche? All right. So the first guy I'm looking for this week, I want to give the Jets some love. We easily rank on them week in and week out. We could anyway, but how about Elijah Moore? He's just coming off a huge game, 8 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Now he's going against Houston in their awful defense. Um, I'm going to say Elijah Moore is a guy that I'm trying to input in my lineup.
Yeah, I have Elijah on here too. I have him like my third guy. But I would just say every time I call his name, he usually flops. But I just think this
Yep,
matchup against the Texans, who've
makes too
just
much
been,
sense.
yeah, they're just porous against NFL wide receivers this season. So I think that's a good play. My number one start of the week is actually your least favorite player, maybe your least favorite player in the NFL, close to one of my least favorite players in the NFL, Super Cam Newton. I think he was a borderline start last week. This week against Miami, I just think you have to play him. If you're in a super flex league, tune in when we join Jason on Sunday because I'm sure this question is going to come up a whole bunch, and I'm not going to waver. I just think he's playing with some confidence. He's kind of back in his groove. He's well rested, mind you, compared to most quarterbacks at this point in the season. And I think he's just a red zone threat. And if this game goes the way that I think it will, I think he legit is rushing for at least 2 touchdowns,
Mm,
rushing for touchdowns, right?
okay.
So if you're in I don't know why you would be, but in a CBS sports league where passing touchdowns only count for 4 points, but rushing touchdowns count for 6, I think he's going to have a favorable game for you. So that's my number one is Cam Newton.
My number two is Melvin Gordon versus that
All right.
awful rushing defense of the Los Angeles Chargers. You got a revenge game A, coming off a bye B, and also the Chargers defense. I know last week I think it was an aberration. If you ask my honest opinion, they can't stop the run, and everyone's going to be so quick. Well, wait a minute. What about Javonte Williams? Believe it or not, their carries are pretty much identical. I actually think Gordon has like 10 to 15 more carries than Williams throughout this whole process. They have stayed true to them, split being a complete running back by committee. So I still think if when the Broncos get in the red zone, they're going to try punching in with Gordon to really rub it in the Chargers' wounds there.
Yeah, listen, you called this out a few weeks ago of that. I think when we had Jason on our show about Melvin balling, like he's just been playing really, really well, right? And it's making it hard for Javonte Williams to take over as
The
the
full
bell
load,
cow for the
yeah.
team. Yeah, exactly. And like when I watch, I'm just like, God, like Melvin didn't have this juice last year, maybe even
Now,
the previous year. Like he's playing inspirational football, and he's playing good football. So I love the call, and like you said, outside of last week's performance from your defense, right? Seemingly teams have been able to run the football against the
yeah,
LA Chargers. So my final one here, and this is a long shot, Lou. Like this is a desperation
get
Hail
him,
Mary that could pay huge dividends
do it.
or it could sink your battleship.
Here we go.
And the only reason why I bring this up is because I am toying with this idea myself. Matt Breida from the Buffalo Bills.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
he's
Buffalo is struggling in the run game. They're struggling all year. Their best running back is their quarterback. It is Josh Allen. Devin Singletary struggling to get going. I have Zach Moss in a league, that very same league that I lost Derrick Henry. Chase Edmonds has been out. I'm now filling in with like Donta Foreman and Zach Moss. And I went and picked up Breida off the waiver wire because I heard something from Sean McDermott, that this could be, or at least Buffalo media is reporting that this could be Matt Breida week on a short week. Last week, he put up 18 fantasy points. He had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown. My concern is
garbage time.
he going to get what he's supposed to get. Garbage time would actually favor him because he's a better pass catcher than he is running back, in my opinion. Having him as a 49ers running back in the past, like he is very effective out of the backfield, catching the ball. Very effective, and he's underutilized. It's playing against the Saints. The Saints defense is formidable.
Yeah, they're like ranked second or third against the run. Like they're right up there with
Yep.
Tampa.
But
But you gotta hope that maybe Buffalo goes out to an early lead and it gets out of hand, and then they just run out Breida there. And Zach Moss hasn't been the same since that concussion, man.
Yep.
The last 2 weeks.
So I'm going to argue with here for a minute. I think this plays more favorably if it's a competitive football game than if they get out into the league. Because if Buffalo gets out to an early lead, I think you see a lot of Zach Moss. I think you see a lot of Devin Singletary. But I think if they got to get creative in scheme and play calling, you'll see more of Matt Breida. Again, this dude is very good out of the backfield catching passes. I know this firsthand. But again, it's against the Saints. To me, you play this, man, if like, let's say you're in a Yahoo league and you're looking at your matchup this week and the team is favored, you're favored to lose by 30 points. Let's just say that's the reality. I think right now, if you went and looked at Matt Breida's projections for the week, it's like less than 2 points. It's literally less than 2 points. I think that's where you take the flyer on this guy to say like, all right, I'm going to lose anyway. But if this guy gives me 18 to 20, 15, if he gives you plus 10, it's a win, right?
Nope.
Like compared to what it is. So
no risk it,
for me. No risk it, no biscuit. Bruce Arians, baby.
Yeah, you stole the words out of my mouth.
Sorry, man. I'm quick with it. All right, Lou, that wraps us up. As I always do, I'll rely on you to tell the avid listeners and new listeners where they can follow and where they can find us.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WTF Pod WTF Pod NFL. That tryptophan, man.
I hear you, dude. You're already sneaking turkey. You're out there taste testing it, I'm sure. And on YouTube, we're talking football. We _RE talking football. I'm tryptophan as well.
No, you're not. You're red wined out, bro.
Yeah, I am red wined out. I've been having a little bit throughout this conversation. But that's me. That's how I do as we roll into the pod. Especially now that we get to record from home and I don't have to drive your ass into the studio and feel responsible for your well-being or safety. But Lou, always a pleasure, my friend. Obviously, happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners and happy Thanksgiving to you and the family. And I look forward to watching these games this week and recapping them next week like we always do.
All right.
Adios.